Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest edition of the Woke Bros. Of course, I'm your co-host, Big Wos, coming to you from the Las Vegas Strip, live,
Ooh,
baby.
which hotel? Which hotel?
I'm at the MGM, baby. You know, I could divulge the location because you can't find me in here.
Yeah,
This
no.
place is a freaking labyrinth. It's insane.
Okay.
Of course, my boy. Are you back from Miami, Nando?
Yeah. I'm back in LA.
Back on the west side of Los Angeles, our guy Nando Vila. What's going on, brother?
We should do a live Vegas show one day for the Woke Bro Nation. We should just
Absolutely.
go
I'm
to
sure we can
Vegas
get
and
some
just
people to come out.
we'll do it
For
at the Peppermill
Showski,
Lounge or
even if
somewhere
it's
cool like
20 of
that.
us, let's get
Yeah,
together. Let's do it.
yeah.
Let's
I
plot
love
the
Vegas.
revolution.
Yeah,
And then go play some blackjack.
Fuck yeah.
Of course, I'm out here for the NBA in-season tournament, the first of its kind. I literally sprinted over to my room from the T-Mobile Arena. Pacers and Bucks, just a very thrilling game. Tyrese Halliburton is a star. After this, I'm gonna go back to go watch the Lakers play the Pelicans. But yeah, Nando, we wanted to get an episode in here for y'all, year-end special. Obviously, you're a Hollywood mover and shaker. And so we wanted to do, talk about our favorite movies of the year.
Yeah.
Nando went so far as to even put a letterbox together and rank the movies he's seen this year, like the true letterbox bro that he is. And yeah, we're gonna talk about them. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen as many movies as Nando, obviously, because I'm not as big a movie buff, but I've seen a few and would definitely like to get into it. But right off the top, man, because we haven't talked about this on the show, Nando. Obviously, we talked about it when we hung out, but number one with a bullet, Oppenheimer.
dude. Gotta be Oppie.
So good.
I mean, I think
so fucking good, dude.
It's so fucking good. And like, okay, I mean, I guess what I'll start by saying is overall, I think it's been an incredible movie year. Like it's been one of the best movie
best
years
since 2019.
Yeah, easily best since 2019. But I think this was going to go down as a pretty memorable year. It just so happened that a bunch of kind of great
big dogs
directors, great big dogs, historic big dogs had movies this year. It all kind of came together into this just like a really incredible year. And it has also coincided with, for me, the long awaited, but for other people, the very sad death of certainly the superhero genre, which has been dominant in the last 10, 15 years. And for the first time, the top 3 grossing movies of the year were not superhero movies.
Crazy.
Or
not superhero movies, or not the second installment,
sequel.
Third installment of some franchise IP garbage.
Yeah.
It's not some Indiana Jones for the 28th time.
Yeah.
This time with Jude Law, something stupid like that. I don't think Jude Law's in one, but you know what I mean? These are just original movies, and even Barbie is IP, obviously.
Yeah, but it's IP. When they say IP, like Barbie is a brand. It's not like, I mean, I guess it's technically IP, but it's not like they're taking, a comic book that has a story and a character and a backstory.
Exists. Like,
Barbie is an original movie for all intents and purposes, just with a brand attached to it. There's no story behind the Barbie doll.
Nope.
There's nothing.
Story was basically Greta Gerwig and her husband, Noah Baumbach, two of the most talented writers in the whole freaking industry, and they came together to tell it. But yeah, we're not getting into Barbie because this is an Oppenheimer podcast. We're an Oppenheimer household.
We're bros,
Nando.
We're bros.
We're bros.
I mean, Oppenheimer. I like Christopher Nolan a lot.
Yeah. Before you get into that, what's your relationship with Nolan? Because I
like him.
He has a lot of people that love him.
Yeah,
and there are people that are like super skeptical. Where do you fall on that continuum?
I generally like him a lot. The thing is, I find myself, and I don't know if this is just because I'm an insufferable, contrarian or whatever, but I tend to love the movies of his that are not the ones that other people. I mean, I think most
You
people
didn't like
love.
Tenet. Don't lie. You didn't like Tenet.
No,
Stop
no, I'm not talking
lying.
about Tenet. I'm talking about more. I'm talking more that I didn't love the Dark Knight or the Dark Knight,
Mm,
right? You know, like, I mean, I like those movies. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not hating on those movies, but they're not the. I wasn't like, I don't rewatch them a million times, and I'm
no,
obsessed
yeah.
with them, and
No, the Bane one
um,
was terrible. The other two I really
yeah,
liked.
yeah. Like, I liked them. I was like impressed by them. And there's actually a funny reading of Oppenheimer that it's like, Christopher Nolan he himself is Oppenheimer, and Oppenheimer created the bomb,
The
and it was taken
superhero
away.
movie, right.
And then
Mhm.
Christopher Nolan created the modern superhero movie, and transformed the culture and the movie business
And
into only
yeah,
superhero movies. Um, but
so true.
I love Dunkirk. Like, I love Dunkirk. I think Dunkirk's an incredible movie.
Excellent movie.
Uh, I love Interstellar. I just think like Interstellar is fucking awesome. And yeah, like I love Christopher Nolan's movies, but Oppenheimer. When I saw that he was doing Oppenheimer, it immediately clicked for me. Like, what a great idea for a Christopher Nolan movie, because it is underrated in a way how important Oppenheimer was as a figure in human history. Like, we're so used to the atomic age that we can't really process just how big of a seismic shift that was. That
Mhm.
at one point human beings could split the atom, and what that means. Um, and it was Oppie who did it, and I fucking loved Oppenheimer. I think I just thought it was just an incredible achievement. The fact that it was so weird and so almost avant-garde, like
Mm,
it almost felt, it's so unconventional as a movie. Like, it doesn't follow the formulaic plot beats of a biopic or anything like that. It is completely its own original thing. And yet it still made $1 billion and was like a huge phenomenon, and people loved it and
mhm.
saw it over and over again, and grossed, like, it's hard to describe. Just, it's hard to overstate how remarkable it was as a box. I think we've gotten used to it now, like, we've processed it. But if you would have shown me Oppenheimer as a person who's in the industry, I would have been like, I love this movie, but this is going to
Nobody's
flop
gonna
at
go
the
see this.
this is
Yeah.
gonna
Mhm.
flop. Like, what are you talking about? The last hour is like this, like,
Yeah.
weird little chamber drama, in which we're
By
trying
the
to.
way, I'm into The Last Hour, by the way.
I love the last hour.
People who hate on The Last
Yeah,
Hour,
our
"Oh, it's
children.
overdone.
Yeah,
Oh, the movie had already ended. We didn't." You're wrong. You're super wrong,
yeah,
and we'll get into why you're wrong.
yeah. And yeah. So I loved Oppenheimer. I mean, I will rewatch Oppenheimer. I saw it 3 times in theaters. Not because, like, I was
Mm,
like a nerd about it, but I saw, like, I just for happenstance, like, when I went back to Miami, my dad wanted to see it, so I went to see it with my dad. And then, like, it was kind of, there's
yeah,
situations where I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go see it. It wasn't like I was like,
of
oh, I need to go
course.
see this a million times. But the experience of seeing Oppenheimer at the Chinese theater in 70 millimeter IMAX, was one of the more fun movie going experiences. We all just walked out of there like buzzing. I went with a group of guys, and then we went to Musso and Frank after, and we just had a fucking great
Very
time
LA.
talking about it. And I was like, yeah, this is like what living in LA is. So yeah, Oppenheimer number one. I mean, the fact that it was such a box office sensation, which would usually make me skeptical of a movie,
Same.
because I have that weird kind of, like, if
But you
everyone likes it,
watched the movie though, Nando.
yeah.
Like,
And it,
and it's just smarter about all of it, right? Like so a lot of times when we watch movies about these great figures from history, like for instance, um, I'm listening to the Blowback podcast from our boys over there.
yeah,
Shouts to Noah Cohen, and they're talking about the Afghanistan war, both of them, our war, meaning the American war, plus the Russian war in the 80s. And they give it like a very vivid depiction of Charlie Wilson, right? And obviously, you guys know there's a movie called Charlie Wilson's War where Tom Hanks plays this, dude, and Julia Roberts is in it, and Charlie Wilson is this hero, and blah blah blah. And a lot of times when we get these historical, actual figures about quote unquote important things that happen in our time. If you go back and watch that movie, we're getting propaganda from the State
Oh,
Department, y'all.
and I remember enjoying that movie a little bit, but I was like, I reckon because I can separate, like, Dunkirk is a very right wing movie. Like, I just, I can separate that. You know,
Yeah, and a
like,
lot of times we're getting these movies and we're getting propagandized like a motherfucker.
yeah.
Oppenheimer, why I enjoyed it, and I've heard people's critique where it's like, oh, Christopher Nolan, he really buys into this theory of the, great men of history, blah, 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 blah. And to me, honestly, I think the first half of the movie is the great man of history theory, and then the ending tears that apart.
Tears
There
it
are no
apart.
great men.
How did they not
There
get
are no
that?
great men. The system will
The system
fucking
wins.
destroy you.
Yeah.
The system will fucking tear you to shreds the second you fall out of line. So
Yeah.
you can't be great. You can be
Yeah.
great in a way that the system wants you to and allows you to. But the second you go against that, which I thought was important, Nando, because obviously there's a lot of red baiting in the movie. They don't go crazy into sort of the merits of Marxism or socialism or definitely
Well,
not
but even
communism.
but they were more sophisticated about. First of all, the fact that they
Exactly.
even got into it in the way
Is
they did,
crazy.
again, in a mainstream American, like
It's
the top
crazy.
three grocer in America, like they're going deep on the American Communist Party, and Oppenheimer's mansplaining Marx to Florence Pugh. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that shit
it's
was
like
fire.
yeah. And then saying, I am become death, destroyer of worlds, as she's sticking his dick in her pussy. And it was like,
Yeah.
I was like, fucking Nolan, you maniac.
Sick. He's sick. He is sick. Though
Uh,
the sex scenes, and a lot of people complain about the sex scenes. It's a little off. Like, let's face it, Christopher Nolan is no like Brian De Palma, right? Like he's not
yeah.
like that freaky. He's
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to like he
Yeah.
don't really understand being freaky for real. But he's
Yeah.
like, you know what?
Well,
There's
his
no
idea
sex
of
in my
being
movie.
freaky is like, let me read Hindu fucking Sanskrit.
Like, he's not like David Fincher, who's another freakazoid, right?
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Nolan is like a buttoned up Brit. We get it.
Yeah.
But I thought the movie was excellent. At
Yeah.
like, yes, this guy was great, but you know what's greater? The fucking system. The
Yeah.
system's gonna kill
these
you.
these
You
these
know.
anonymous bureaucrats like Robert Downey Jr. I had never heard of that guy. I don't know if he's a real
Yep.
guy. I'd never fucking heard of him. Like, I don't know who the fuck that
Yep.
is. He's an unimportant guy.
Yep.
Yet, like, these bureaucrats are really the ones who kind of make the world go around. I mean, I think is the
Yep.
message of the movie in a way. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
and again, a movie about the red scare, red baiting about it, and again, I thought it was effective to talk about communism, socialism, Marxism, collectivism, in terms of this guy who did this great thing for the US government and he tried to go against them by himself and he got crushed. You can't do it alone, y'all. Like you're not beating these people by yourself. You will not buck the system. You will not change it from within. You will fall in line and you will get crushed. And I'm sorry, the movie
but
was very effective in explaining that.
and Oppenheimer would have known that had he really been a commie and not a New Deal Democrat, as he says in the movie, which is in one of the funniest moments of the movie when Matt Damon's like, "You're a suspected communist." He goes, "I'm a New Deal Democrat." He's like, "I said suspected."
Yo, just a fantastic movie. I can't wait to watch it again, honestly, because again, the brilliance of the silence after the bomb hits, and it's just so freaking excellent. I agree with you. Obviously, my favorite movie that I watched this year, we did a lot of killers talk. If you've gone to the movies at all this year, you've seen a lot of previews for the holdovers.
Yeah.
And it felt like a really hokey, nice, wholesome holiday movie. Why is it your second movie on your list, Nando?
Well, so I'm a little biased because I know the producer of the movie, a guy named
Okay.
Mark Johnson, who's one of my favorite people that I've ever worked with. He's a kind of legendary producer. He produced Rain Man, which
Mm.
was which at the time, which is crazy to think about, Rain Man was the highest grossing movie of that year. And I think it was 1986. Number one grosser that year was Rain Man. It's a different
Wow.
era, and it won the Best Picture Oscar. And so he produced this movie, and I saw an early cut of it about a year ago. And I remember just thinking like, oh my god, like I cannot wait till people see this movie. Like it is one of the when you watch a movie that's just fully satisfying, like it's
Mm,
completely satisfying on every level. Like it is funny, it's sweet, it's poignant, it's like it's kind of feel good without being saccharine. Like it doesn't make you feel cheap. It's got just enough edge, but it's also it's like not so edgy that you can't watch it with your whole family or whoever. Like there's no one that can watch The Holdovers and be like, I didn't like that movie. I mean,
mm,
it's just a thoroughly complete and good fucking well-made movie, like the kind that how you always say like they don't make them like they used to. This really does feel like a throwback to a people always say people are comparing it a lot to these 70s movies because it's set in 1970s, and in 1970 it has this kind of 70s look to it, but to me it reminds me of the movies of the early 90s where they had a lot of
mhm.
these kind of prep school movies.
Yep. Dead Poets
That Yeah,
Society,
School
Scent of a
Ties.
Woman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
It's that. It's more in that genre, I think it's better than all of those. Like it's
Wow.
so good. I mean, if people don't remember, this is Alexander Payne, who's one of the best directors in the last 30 years. He did Sideways with Paul Giamatti. He did Election, one of the best movies in the 90s. He did About Schmidt, Nebraska, The Descendants. Like he's just banger after banger after banger. And his last movie was a movie called Downsizing, which was a huge flop. It was his most expensive movie, and it was like a big time flop with Matt Damon. And so I think he was like kind of a little bit in director jail. Like it's been a while since he's come out with a movie, and
Mm.
this one is just such a return to form for him. And Paul Giamatti's amazing. There's a young kid
He's
named,
always amazing.
he's always amazing. He's gonna get nominated for Best Actor 100%. And then there's the young kid in it who had never acted before, and he plays like the main kid that Paul Giamatti's kind of like taking care of, and he's incredible in it. And it's just it's fucking great. Like it's just a thoroughly enjoyable movie that I think people have been saying it, and I think it's true that it's kind of like an instant holiday classic. Like it's the kind of movie that you can watch every Christmas if you wanted. It's going to be in the rotation of Christmas movies. Like, when's the last time you could say that about a movie that came out recently?
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
incredible. I saw every time I would watch the preview, I'm like, this is something I would watch, but it's like I feel like I've seen this movie before, right?
yeah.
Like a bunch of misfits get together and they realize they love each other, and you make your own family and blah 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 blah. But we know those beats, but when it's well done, obviously, I'm sure there were a bunch of tearjerker moments in the movie where people
Not
were
bad. It's not, but
sniffling
it's not, but it's yes, but not like in a cheap way.
a hokey sort of way.
Not a hokey way. It feels very earned, and it doesn't feel like you don't feel gross about it, or
I
like
like that.
it's not even as cheesy as "Son of a Woman" can be sometimes. Like it's not. It doesn't. It's not dripping in cheese. It's like cooler than that.
I love that.
Uh, so yeah, that's my second favorite. That's my number two of the year.
Number
Uh,
2, we're gonna jump around, but I did want to
yeah,
point people out.
jump around.
We're gonna I wanted to talk to people, and Nando hasn't seen this, but it's a movie called She Came to Me and starred Peter Dinklage, Marissa Tomei, and Anne Hathaway, who is having quite the year. I guess people are like realizing that like she's pretty excellent actress. I think Anne Hathaway, and I'm one of those people, like I'm very put off by tryhards, like people who outwardly like make sure everybody knows that they put a lot of effort, and like they really care, and they really studied, and like they really book it. Like I really get annoyed by people who make that their brand, and Anne Hathaway has rubbed me that way in the past, but I'll be damned if she just isn't just incredible every time she's on screen. And in this movie, uh she plays Peter Dinklage of Game of Thrones, the imp. She plays his wife. He's a playwright. He's a successful playwright, but he's got like this one mega hit, and he's like sort of in a slump, and he's trying to find his groove again. Not a playwright, excuse me, a composer, a creative type. Sorry. He plays a composer, and he's trying to write his next great symphony. and she sends him out into the world to be like, yo, you need to go out and find inspiration. And he finds it in the form of Marissa Tomei, and hijinks ensue. I just think it's a great movie, great New York movie.
Oh, nice.
Obviously, Peter Dinklage is a very, versatile guy. Marissa Tomei, Brooklyn girl, God's favorite. I love her, of course. And yeah, it's a small movie. You know what I mean? Low budget indie type of situation, but I think it's worth people checking
Hell
out.
yeah.
It's directed by Rebecca Miller.
We'll check it
Nando, I
out.
wanted to jump around with you
Jump
because
around.
I'm curious because Priscilla,
Yeah.
directed by Sofia Coppola, of course, Francis
Yeah.
Ford Coppola's esteemed daughter. More relevant to me, honestly, Nando, the inspiration for the movie Her.
Yeah.
Spike Jones made that movie after they broke up.
Well, after she made the movie about him in Lost in Translation, it's like that's
Mm.
some great drama over there.
And he was
Someone
like, all
should make a
right,
movie about that,
I
you
got
know?
something for that ass.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so Her, one of my favorite movies of all time. Talk about
Such a good movie.
seeing the future in
Such a good
HD. My
movie. Yeah.
God. Excellent. Spike Jones, make another movie, fam. Jesus.
Fucking A, yeah.
Talk to me about Priscilla, man. What'd you think?
I thought Priscilla was an excellent movie. Really, 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 really well done. Sofia Coppola just has that kind of touch for this specific kind of movie. I mean, it's a very small movie. It really is about the
By
relationship.
biopic standards, right?
Definitely, like I mean, you could tell like most of it takes place in in
Like
in in
rooms.
in rooms in what's supposed to be Graceland, but really is a set, I think, in Canada somewhere. And I just thought that the performances were really strong. I thought that the direction was really confident, and it's the kind of movie that if they described it to you, you'd be like kind of eye rolly about it. But it's done with such finesse and such a deft touch that it never falls into cheap moralism. Because like
Mm,
Elvis like groomed Priscilla basically. I mean, she was like 15 when they met, or
wow.
14 or some shit. Like she was a fucking teenager, and he was already a big star. And she was obviously like, oh my God, it's Elvis Presley, like, and he's like inviting her around. And so it's really a movie about a guy who is, not the most emotionally stable person, kind of a manipulator, like a lot of celebrities, kind of a
Mhm.
narcissist, who is basically grooming this girl who sort of, I mean, I think maybe the reason why Sofia Coppola was attracted to this story is because throughout, Priscilla kind of knows that she's being manipulated. Like she's not dumb, she's not unwise to what's going on, you know, but again, it's there's no like easy answer for it. There's no kind of cheap message. So I just thought it was like a very mature movie, that handled a kind of complicated subject with a lot of dexterity and specificity that I thought was just really impressive. I mean, again, like in lesser hands, like with a worse director, this movie would have been just like a really boring kind of one note thing about a guy, a problematic relationship in, that was just. But again, I thought it was impressive. I mean, it's you know it's not like necessarily like a movie made for guys like us, if that makes sense. Like it's not,
Yeah.
but you can appreciate it because it's just so well done. You know.
So when we talked about Killers of the Flower Moon, we talked about the fact that this isn't Marty's bag, right? This subject matter, these people, he's telling somebody else's story. And you could feel not apprehension or tentativeness, but he's being careful in the way that he tells the story. This isn't just unvarnished
No.
Marty, right? This isn't Goodfellas, right? Where Marty is just like, it's riding a bike for him. It's interesting to hear you say the opposite about Sofia Coppola telling this story because obviously she's Francis Ford Coppola's daughter. She's been around these types of people
Yeah.
for a while. She knows this world very well. And obviously she's made herself has become a prominent woman in the entertainment industry. And so she understands the baggage and the weight of that. And so, yeah, that's that.
And her breakout hit was Lost in Translation, which is about a kind of it's nowhere near as problematic a relationship as Priscilla and Elvis, but it is a relationship between, like, it's like a 30 or 40-year age gap relationship,
Mm.
you know.
Oh, so
A
Spike
young
Jones is just like way older than her.
No, 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 no. It's the relationship between her and Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray in the movie. You
Oh, oh, oh,
know?
and oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
still on the her
yeah.
this
Yeah,
is
no,
Spike
no, no.
Jones shit.
No, 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 no. She just makes fun of Spike Jones through the Giovanni Ribisi character in Lost in Translation. But no, it's like, and in that, it's one of those things that, like, it's one of those movies that someone told you about. If someone pitched you, it's like, oh, it's about a relationship between a 50 or 60
Mhm.
or 55-year-old
It's problematic,
movie
right.
star and a 19-year-old girl. You're like, huh? You know what I mean? But, like, in both movies, the women are completely in control in a way, not as much in
Sure.
Priscilla as in Lost in Translation, obviously, but they're aware of what's going on. They're not just completely manipulated and good. So, like, it makes sense. This is kind of like a capstone for that. She loves these kind of relation. I don't know, for whatever reason.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah,
um
yeah.
okay, the last movie we want to talk about, how do you pronounce this Mexican joint, Nando?
Which one?
Heroic?
Heroic. Great movie. This is a movie by a
Is
guy
it in
named Dan.
Spanish?
It's in Spanish. Um,
Mhm.
but the way I would describe this movie is it's Mexican Full Metal Jacket. The first half of Full Metal
Copy.
Jacket. It all takes place on a
Mm.
military base in Mexico, and it's like a training, it's a bunch of grunts, that show up to basic training essentially, and then there's the senior officers, or not the junior officers who have to train them are, like, absolutely brutal. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it almost has even more of an edge, if you could even say that, than Full Metal Jacket,
Wow.
in that there's an element that you start getting the sense that some of these junior officers are involved in some sort of criminal activity, where, because they're trained, military officers, they sometimes go out in the middle of the night with a bunch of guns, and put on, like, a ski mask, and
Right, right,
and
right, right.
they're slowly starting to recruit this guy to be part of their crew, essentially a gang within the Mexican military, and start, like, kind of coercing him to do bad shit that he doesn't want to do. And then when this guy tries to speak up, the military brass are just kind of,
Yeah, we
you
know how
know
that goes.
you know how that
Yeah.
goes. But it's just a fucking awesome movie. It's so well done. It's a Mexican movie. It's probably, I don't even know where you could see it now, because I saw it at Sundance last year. But I'm sure if you really tried, you can find it. It's just a hidden gem movie for me. It didn't get a lot of attention or anything like that, but I promise you, if you watch that movie, it's incredibly powerful. It sticks the landing so hard. The ending is so cool. It's just a really, really good movie. If you kind of like the Full Metal Jacket vibe of the first half, you're gonna love this one. That's like my Roger Ebert kind of take on that.
I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for today. Shouts to everybody who's listening, man, this entire year. We really appreciate you guys fucking with us, supporting what we do. Of course, if you can, for a cup of coffee a month, become a Patreon at patreon.com/count the dings. Shouts to my man John Gervais on the ones and threes, always keeping the trains running on time, man. We will see you guys soon. Peace.
Later.